Okay, I'll be back in a minute. You don't think stopping splits the stream anymore? Oh my God. That's terrible. You know, we should do announcements of announcements more often because this tea that I made in the run up is like really delicious. It's perfect. It's so good. The honey is orange blossom honey, which is a little plain. Like normally I go for like cinnamon honey or vanilla honey, but the orange blossom honey is just really good with golden monkey specifically, guys. I don't know what to tell you. All right. So now that the announcement of the announcement is over, you can, hey, Twitch lets you rewind now, right? You can like actually go back in time. And so if you missed it, go back in time about 20 minutes and watch the full run up of everything. Oh wait, there's a separate. Okay, so maybe you can't because I split the stream. Ha ha. Ha ha. Okay, so um actually, so when we left off with the compiler, we were trying to get a new way of doing type restrictions to work. Um well, we're on the D drive, of course. So I bought a nice new Threadripper machine to replace our build machine, and it's sitting over there in the other room. And I'm like, maybe I should just snatch that for my personal machine instead and just order a new one. It was an expensive computer. It probably wasn't the most expensive computer that we've bought, but it was up there because, you know, RAM and all that. Did we get rid of the E-Core self-destructy computer? Yeah, I haven't been using that in a while. We are off the European cores. We are back. So this current computer that you see me using right now, let's see, system information. This is also a Threadripper. It's an old one, like from 2019. This is the computer I've been using for day to day ever since I moved here. So like if you've seen any stream in the past 4 to 5 months, it's been this one. It's way better still 6 years later than most random Intel machines that I would buy because of those European cores and other problems, which is crazy. It was very expensive back in 2019 when we bought it. But like the fact that it's still very good 6 years later is nuts. Did I build it choosing the single parts? This was from Micro Center, hashtag ad. They have a store in Denver that's actually, it's really good. So here's the thing. As a nerdy boy growing up, you would end up going to the computer store a lot. And when I was a little kid, excuse me, when I was a little kid, we had like Radio Shack, which was just not that exciting. Back when Radio Shack existed, it was not that big of a store. And you would go in there and there would be like some electronics component. There'd be a little bit of computer stuff, but it just wasn't that interesting. Right. Later on, you had like Fry's when I was in college, if you lived in the Bay Area or some other places. And that was pretty good. But that also, like, Fry's became nasty and gross. You had Central Computer in the Bay Area, which was better. But then they changed their name to Central Computers, proving that they don't know English. And then went downhill shortly after that. But Micro Center is still pretty good, actually. It's very much a gamer store. Like, most of what Micro Center sells is for gamers, but that's all right. I mean, just be ready to see lots of things with a lot of glowy LEDs in them. But they'll build computers for you. So I went to like here, and I just spec'd out the parts, and they have, when you spec out the parts, they actually have a compatibility thing. So it'll make sure that you pick the right compatible motherboard and stuff. Right. So like if I pick, this is not I'm not getting paid for this at all. I'm literally just explaining what I did. So, you know, I said like Threadripper, right? You probably shouldn't buy a Threadripper unless you want one because they're very expensive. And they're not that much faster single core. In fact, they're probably slower single core. But like I forget which one it was. I think I got one of these. But anyway, if you pick that, it'll give you some motherboard more. There aren't very many motherboards that are compatible, which is why there's only 4. But you can then do a little bit of research and figure out what these are, right? And so it's all good. Casey also sent me a thing. I think it was PC Part Picker, which is this, but not hooked up to a store directly. I think here, it'll link. We used this on stream one time. I just don't remember because it was like 6 months ago. So like if I pick a Threadripper from here, I don't even remember what did we pick? What did we pick here? 7970. That's not even on here for some reason. Maybe it's too new. Okay, we'll just pick one of these. Yeah, it'll give you links to external places where you could buy the stuff. But so Micro Center, because it's a store, they'll just, after you pick the parts, they'll just put that PC together for you. And then I just picked it up. So we may yoink that PC for us, or we may just buy another one. Okay. Anyway, let's run. Why did OBS, when I was alt tabbing, it didn't have an updated version of the screen? All right. Let's run this. Let's do the compiler. And we're just going to try to make a little bit of progress on what we were doing. I guess we'll stay with debug build probably. So did we have this compiling again? Yes. So that compiles and works. But I think when we built Sokoban, this was like 2 days ago on stream, I think we have a compilation error that's new, right? Yes. Okay. And I actually, after the stream, I started looking into this a little bit in one particular way and didn't see anything obvious. And so I just kind of want to investigate more. We're just going to go in the debugger. We're just going to see what's going on. Now, this is a weird, okay. So this again, if we look at this, what's happening is we've got a cast, which is a syntax node in our tree. It's got a flag that says this is a pointer dereference, but the type given to it is not a pointer dereference. So we can start by refreshing our memory. We'll break there. We'll see what's the serial number of this node. we can go back to where the node was made. Or here's what I think. That's actually what we did on stream and what I did last time. We can see what this cast is pointing to, which is probably another cast. Because we're doing this like as cast functionality. So I think if we look at that one and try to verify that that one is right or something like that. All right, wait, we're okay. Debug build, please. Debug build, please. AMD EPYC 192 cores to run File Explorer. I mean, dude. I mean, this is a Threadripper. It's not. It doesn't have 192 cores, but it has like 32. I forget. 16. We could look in the system information again, but like, look how long it takes for this to come up when I click it. Click. It's like 1 second. How many threads do we have? I think. Does it say Task Manager will say, hey, the guy who wrote Task Manager can tell me how many threads that I have. Well, that's software threads. Cores 32. All right. Okay, why can anybody tell me? Look at Windows. It's doing obviously some OBS. We're streaming over the internet, so we're sending packets and all that. We've got a little File Explorer. We've got Visual Studio running. Can anybody tell me why are there 5,144 threads running right now? Are we trying to do 1 thread per pixel? Like, what is happening? What is happening? Good thing we've got all these handles. New OS, please, dude. If I had the ability to launch an OS project, I would. I do not have that ability currently, so we're sticking with video games. No adults were in the room. That is the right answer. Okay, so okay, this is not the breakpoint. This is when we're creating the cast, actually, I think. Let's just keep going. Actually, we updated the game, so this is probably the wrong breakpoint now because the code is different. Okay. So all right, so here we go. Yeah, like we said, it claims to be a pointer dereference, but what it's pointing at is not a pointer dereference. If we were an open source programmer, we would just say, put an extra if statement here to work around this situation, and then we could probably make everything compile. But we want it to work correctly in the long term and be clean and good. And so we're not going to do that. Right. So we could just remove this assert and we could just say, if it's a pointer dereference and it happens to not be a pointer, well, then we obviously don't need to pointer dereference and just return us the base type that we're pointing at. And that honestly, a lot of programmers would do that. Like a lot of programmers would do that. But we shouldn't have generated this in the first place. So let's see what we're pointing at. Cast expression. It's another cast. It's an implicit TAC cast. Okay. That's interesting. It's not an as cast, because if it were, this would be set. What are the flags? Let's look at the flags. Let's refresh ourselves. So implicit pointer dereference. Those are the 2 flags. Okay. because 1 plus 2 is 3, which is, by the way, whenever I go on Facebook, which I don't really do except to like check in with people who I'm vaguely connected to on there, there's all these like practically 1 plus 2 level like math quiz images that people put. It's nuts, dude. It's insane. It's like the fall of civilization in real time. Okay, so any thoughts on replacing Pokename? Yeah, I think we're just not going to have it. So at this point, well, we'll see. We'll start a thread on the Discord or something about that. Like Pokename is a really old feature that was just invented as a workaround to begin with, and I don't totally like it because it means that like a module can never know when it's done compiling because somebody might poke new stuff in there. Although that's still kind of true because you can insert with arbitrary scope right now. But there's something about Pokename that's extra messy. So yeah. Did I remove the operator overload? Why would we remove operator overloading? No. Implicitly called member functions. I'm not sure. I don't think we ever had implicitly called member functions. So you might be thinking of a different language, or maybe I'm not connecting the question to the history of this language correctly. Surely I go on LinkedIn. Dude, as someone who runs a company, I should, according to society, be on LinkedIn so I can like follow up on all these resumes we get and stuff. But like LinkedIn was so horrible about spamming me when I first tried to sign up for that reason. I got so far away from there so fast. Like they treat you with just incredible levels of disrespect when you sign up. It was like you keep clicking, stop sending me 10 emails a day, and then you still get 10 emails a day. And you're like, how many of these? Yeah, it was horrendous. It was horrendous. Are we going to announce the announcement? You missed the announcement of the announcement, dude. We were punctual. We were very punctual and on time, only about 20 minutes late in announcing the announcement. You can look at the VOD to see the announcement of the announcement. It's okay. Someday when you're with your kids and they're like, where were you at the end of 25? And you're like, well, I almost could say I was here when the announcement was announced, but not quite. And they'll be like, oh, that's so cool. They'll say that. They really will. If you stop eating stevia. Okay. So this is an implicit cast. Let's go look at the point in the source code that we're talking about. Well, this could, this is where okay, so one thing that, so Linux debuggers mostly suck and are terrible, all right? However, one thing that you could do on GDB way back in like the 90s or the late 80s that you still can't do in Visual Studio, as far as I know, someone let me know if you can, is that you could just call functions from the debugger. So if you had like a print, like right now we've got a syntax tree node with various fields that are kind of packed a little bit. So it's not that easy to unpack the information to know what line number and file this came from. I can type several lines worth of stuff. But in GDB, you would just like write, give me the string that unpacks this thing, and then you could call that from the debugger. but I don't think it does support expression evaluation, but I don't think it supports function evaluation. So if I do this, if I say get inferred type, maybe they've changed that. I don't know. Let's see. Oh my God, it actually worked. Okay. I'm used to that not working. Okay, this changes everything. So now if we make, so this, what I was going to say is this actually even used to work in Visual Studio in the old days, and then they broke it for a long time and it just didn't work, but I guess it works again now. So rip that rant. They actually fixed something. Okay. So maybe I will write that function, but right now I'm not going to because we're in the middle of a debug session. So I'm going to type all the stuff anyway. So we're going to go cast line number 1980. Most of you were not born then. Cast load info index, right? And to find out, this tells us what file, and to find out, we got to go interp active loads dot first bucket, I think, and then arrow data sub 130, right? Okay, there we go. So we would just make a function that has all this, so I don't have to do that all the time. String literal for file name, Lilies and Rivers, line 1980. Okay. So we're calling index position to index. Okay, so what's happening here? I'll mansplain it. What's happening? So entity manager is one of the main like this is what holds all the entities, right? It has a grid like in it, proximity grid. Proximity grid is grid squares that entities could be in a grid square, right? Okay. What is proximity grid? Well, it's one of these. It's not that big of a deal. It's using grid-like, where grid-like is basically a corner, number of squares in 2 dimensions, and then whether it's wrapping. So this is a pretty simple structure. This is a pretty simple structure, okay? And then this is, right? So, but you'll notice this is as, and this is as, all right? So you could actually say entity manager dot corner, and it would look this up. I never do that because that's a little weird, but you could. But so I guess the point here is we're asing through a pointer. And then we're asing through a by value to a struct. So it's not that complicated. It's 3 levels, right? It's top level, middle, and then bottom. Okay. So if this is not the as cast, what is it? It's an implicit cast that converts us to, oh, we've got the bleeps happening again. Did I ever figure out what that is? Oh, it's someone bit gifting. We don't want to have a smoke alarm going off or a smoke detector beep going off in the background. Okay, cast implicit cast target type is grid-like. Okay, so we're casting to grid-like. Okay, wait, we got to go back line 1980 of Lilies and Rivers now that we've, okay, so position to index is going to be like in grid-like. Yeah, So this function takes a grid-like. So we're going down 2 levels to cast to this. And when we call this function, we actually have to give it the pointer that points at squares x in grid-like, because that's how this function, that's what this function needs in order to function properly, right? So when we call position to index, we have a pointer to entity manager. It turns that into pointer to proximity grid, which, by the way, that probably shouldn't be a pointer. Like, why is that, right? Because if you look at proximity grid, like, we knew it. This is because code that harkens back to the early days of the game is still written in a little bit like the habits I have from C++. So nowadays I would always put things by value whenever I can, because it's just better. But here, you know, there's sort of this C++ or Java style thing where you knew everything all the time, right? And so we're newing this for no reason, because these are just a few data members. And then this is actually the part that's dynamic and needs to be sized. So we could get rid of one level of pointer here if we wanted to, but I'm not going to, because like, I want to fix the actual bug that we have so I can deliver the compiler to the people. And if I just change the code and get rid of that bug, then, well, we probably would hit something else, but like, it just randomizes the debugging process. Okay. So we're calling position to index. We're casting from pointer to entity manager to pointer to proximity grid, and then pointer to proximity grid to grid-like. Okay, so what are we casting to grid-like? We are casting grid-like to grid-like. That's not good. Okay, so this is a completely wasted cast. It is casting grid-like to grid-like. Okay, why is it doing that? So we're just going to keep looking down through the tree until we see something that makes sense. And then we'll look at the first thing that no longer makes sense. Okay. What is cast? Well, we could just copy this. What is the expression? Remember how we had an announcement of the announcement? What we want to know here is, what is the cast expression of the cast expression? It's another cast. Okay. If I ever wanted to deal with NatViz, all this kind of thing would be easier. But like, we had a NatViz file that someone made, and it helped some, but it didn't like totally work. And it was kind of a big mess that I didn't understand, and rip. And it's pointing at another. Okay, we have a lot of casts in a row. That's not particularly a good thing. So this one is also an implicit cast to a pointer to grid-like. Okay. What is it casting from to get pointer to grid-like? I mean, it's so easy for me to accidentally get lost in the hierarchy and read the wrong thing, you know? So we're looking at the target expression. It is a pointer to proximity grid. Okay. This makes sense. So we get a pointer to proximity grid. We're casting to pointer to grid-like. Implicitly. That's weird. Because that's not... Oh, it is an as cast. Okay. So we're doing the as cast from pointer to proximity grid to pointer to grid like. That makes sense. Okay. It's just the next thing on top of this is the wrong cast. It should be, there should be one pointer dereference cast on top of this that says convert from pointer to grid like to grid like by dereferencing the pointer, which actually is a no op anyway. But for, type rectification purposes, he said rectification. We do stuff like that. Any thoughts also on white box Remedy debugger? I mean, I have Remedy here. It's not the newest version. I just don't like it enough to use it. Um, I think in part last time I asked myself why. It was just it needed a little more UI and a little bit better breakpoint stuff. Um, but maybe the newer version fixes that. It's just I still go to Visual as much as I strongly dislike Visual Studio. I still use it by default because for multiple reasons. One is I just know it does what I need to do. And two, there is a fair amount of wisdom to like not switching horses in the middle of the stream, right? So as you know from the announcement, we might be getting toward the end of some projects someday instead of being perpetually in the middle. And such a time when you complete a project is a good time to swap tools, right? Because it just switching tools always adds a little bit of friction, and you don't really need any in the middle of a project. There are other ones from Microsoft that are better. He probably meant Windbag, which is better in some dimensions, but I don't think the average user would like Windbag better than Visual Studio because it's a lot more minimal. From what I remember. I mean, again, I haven't used that in a really long time either. This conversation started with someone saying they didn't feel like Rad Debugger was done enough. I haven't tried Rad Debugger yet. I'm looking forward to it. I just, again, for the aforementioned switching tools reason, I just haven't gone there, right? Hope Ryan makes an announcement of the announcement soon. I mean, yeah, if he does that, that'll be great. Keeps you from having to open Visual Studio. Yeah, okay. That's great. I mean, I don't exactly know, like, I don't even know what it does and doesn't do right now because I literally have never downloaded Rad Debugger, not because I don't want to use it, but again, because like I've just got too much to, every single day is limited by how many different things I have to think about at one time, right? So I try to keep that down. I try to keep it down. Okay. So this cast makes sense. This next cast, or the one that we looked at before this, is the one that doesn't make sense. And that's one cast in, right? So this one, let's go back and look at it just to see, because maybe we didn't see anything, some things. All right. Cast, whoops. I deleted the line that I wanted, but so this one is okay. So this is casting pointer to grid like to grid like. Okay. Um, Cast flags 3. So again, 3 was implicit and pointer dereference. Okay, wait. So really the problem is we're just doing an extra pointer dereference. Is that all? Because cast, right, is also... So this one is 6ECO is the low digits. This one is 7028. So we definitely have 2 different casts in memory. And this one is also pointer dereference. So why are we doing that twice? And the answer is... Remember, one of the last things we did before, we'll go look at this code in a second, but one of the last things we did was change the time when we dereference pointers. And I thought that should be a flag that's only set in the beginning of this recursive process, but maybe it's not, or I don't know, maybe we're doing it in 2 different places. Let's find out. So we're going to look at where the inner cast happens. Actually, let's save both of them. So cast arrow S, cast expression S. So this is the first one, right? Okay, these things are made very close together. Look how close these numbers are. So it's like we do one and then we're going to recurse up and do the other one because not much happens between. So we're just going to do the earlier one. We're going to do debug stamp. All right. So yesterday when we were trying to debug this, we were looking at the later one because that was just what was on top of the tree. But we're going to do debug stamp. We're going to break there. And then we're just going to see what happens. And then that's a victory. Observing the problem clearly is a victory. And then solving it is hopefully the next step after, or one of the subsequent steps after that victory. Those damn clankers making RAM expensive. That's why you got to go to Toledo and wreck some arcs and get some arc circuitry and bring it back. That should be, okay, look, if they really wanted to make some money, I know there's a big Arc Raiders patch coming up. We'll probably play again whenever that comes out, which I think is right after the wipe. They should add RAM circuits as like a very valuable, a very valuable loot item. Like that's how you stay on top of the news. This is why I'm a game designer, is because of these ideas. Are there already GPUs? I don't believe that there are GPUs in the game, no. The loot in Arc Raiders is, to be honest, a little bit too generic and simple compared to like all the different kinds of items in Tarkov and what you would do with them. But I think that that's something that will naturally evolve all the time over time. Like even with the last big update, they added a number of new loot items. And so they just need to keep doing that. Okay. So we're making a cast here in make implicit cast. Okay, that's no surprise. So here we are. This is our code that we were working on last time. We are down in type checking for 2 things that are pointers to each other. And we're checking the as cast, I think. Oh, no, actually, this is the general thing. So given pointer 2, not wanted pointer 2, switchable expression given is eventually a struct, etc. Okay. So we're checking here. This is going to be grid-like, probably on both sides. Let's see. Wanted given pointer 2. Wanted is grid-like. Given pointer 2 is proximity grid. Okay. So this is doing the as cast. So post switch should be the as cast. This is a useful technique, by the way. Okay. Debugging sometimes takes a long time and is painful, right? And why is that? It's because you could be really confused about what's happening for a long time. So if you have a story about what you think is happening that you finally achieved, even if you are pretty sure you're right, it's useful to validate it, right? So my theory is this is the as cast, but I'm going to click on it now. And if I see something else, like this is a 6-7 cast or something, I'll realize that more nuance is required, right? But it's the as cast. So there we go. Okay. So we are up to date on our understanding of what is happening here. Okay. So this seems correct to me, except the only thing that doesn't seem good is like this looks like the final cast. It's the final cast down. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Can I get AI to make that song, or will it not use the tune anymore because of copyright? I need to get a Chinese AI to make that song. Okay. So the only thing is, this is also doing an as cast. Why? Because we're finishing down here. We should be finishing up here, or something. Something has gone wrong. Something excessive is happening. So what do we think we're doing here? What do we think we're doing here? Wanted is probably grid-like. Grid-like. Given is entity manager. Okay. Okay. Here, one level up, wanted is still grid-like. Given is going to be pointer to entity manager. So this is just like, okay. So this is the auto dereference from entity manager down to the base type. Oh, this might be where it happens. This might be where it happens. Okay, let's think about this. Just from first principles. We have an entity manager. Check that types match is going to do some as cast from it. There should be an as cast from, if we go bottom up, from grid-like to proximity grid, and then, well, reverse that from proximity grid to grid-like, and then from entity manager to proximity grid. If those aren't in order, we could be a little bit in trouble. Because, so we saw the as cast. Remember when I said, okay, I said, hey, I think the as cast. So when we come up here, I think we'll be making another as cast. But the thing that concerns me is I didn't see that other as cast when we were poking through in the debugger, the one to entity manager. So did that get stomped? What happened? What happened to the secret of as cast manner? Let's put up a public service announcement for the people. How do I make the text smaller? How do I make the text smaller? Not size 256, 20. Where is it on the screen? I don't know. The announce. Let's make it 100 so I could see it for a while. Dude, I'm trying to type in the text box. It's highlighted. Let me type. The announcement has happened. Check the VOD. Okay. See, this is very important. We'll make that a little smaller, like 70. Never let it be said that I do not make public service announcements. Okay. There we go. Okay. People will now be confused as to how to get the information, but they will at least know that they don't have the information. Can I create a new OBS scene? Yeah, I should do that. It's just fun not to. I don't know. Like, yeah. We'll see. Someday, I will put more effort into the streaming setup and we'll have all these sick burnt peanut intros. Like, wouldn't it be cool if I switched files and it was like, had the sorcery peanut floating above the castle? And we said, let's ride we're going to go look at typetable.cpp. Let's ride. Yeah. See, and we would have like a musical, right? That's the way to get 40,000 viewers. And actually I was watching Peanut stream last night. He had 40,000 viewers on Twitch, but then also on YouTube, he had like 45,000 viewers. So on those other streaming sites, it was probably also significant. So it's a lot of viewers. It's a lot of viewers. To change editor theme for bits or channel points. Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, I need me some biddies. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So anyway, where were we, by the way? We're in make it. Okay. We're here. We have a pointer to, we have a pointer to proximity grid, and we're casting that down to grid-like with an as cast. So, but why are we marking that as a pointer dereference? Wait. Am I smoking crack? Proximity grid. Grid-like. So this is wrong. This is wrong. This code is overzealous. It fires too often. The logic behind it, or maybe logic is too strong of a word, but what I was thinking was like, look, if you have a pointer and a non-pointer and they compare, then we need to do a pointer dereference on top of that. Okay. But this is not doing a pointer dereference on top of that. This is marking the previous cast as a pointer dereference. which is not right. And that's why it kind of doesn't make sense when we look at it later, because we're actually stomping the data here. What was that? There was a weird rendering glitch when I selected the text. This might have made sense before, but I don't think it makes sense given what we are doing now. I mean, this is wrong for a few reasons. And I think it's okay. If you guys remember, part of what we were trying to do in the first place was like clean up this crazy, what would you call it? Like sort of recursion inverted way that things were being done because it was wrong and it was too hard to understand. So now, like, it's kind of. It's kind of going backwards. It's kind of going backwards. Okay. So wait. Part of what I was saying was wrong. I didn't like, you got to read the code. So we're making a new cast right here. So this is actually where our breakpoint is. So this is not, okay, we're not stomping the old cast. We're making a new one. We're saying that it's a pointer dereference. The problem that we have is this needs to go on the very inside, and it probably isn't. So this hack function pointerize all the intermediate casts. I mean, okay. Anyway, let's assume that this is right still. Because the real problem that we saw was we're building up two redundant casts, and this is the first one. So if this is doing a good job, the one after this is redundant. Right? So again, this is proximity grid to grid-like. We're casting, and we have a pointer to proximity grid that's a member of the thing. And we're casting that to grid-like. Now, here's the thing. Part of the reason this is all complicated is because we only want to do this at the top level. We're not at the top level of the as casting. And so is there a way to know that? Maybe not currently. Except switchable expression given. So pre-switch at this point is itself, well, let's look at the cast members. Pre-switch is an as cast. What does that mean? It means we're being called by someone who is trying to cast us as an as member, which means we shouldn't do this. Maybe. I mean, this kind of like we're making a pointer dereference and then we're going through and we're pointerizing everything. Like, if it's by value in the middle, maybe just leave it. Like, do we really need to do this? Because again, a pointer dereference is a no-op anyway. So the only reason we're doing this is because we're trying to shove this down the middle. So what we could do, the same thing that we're doing with the as cast, where we make our own cast, and if the type check fails, we just don't put it in, right? And we waste that memory, but then maybe that's an extra incentive to reclaim that memory. I feel like we want to do that here as well. The question is then, do we need to do that all the time? Like, I'm not sure why we would only need to do that in 2 specific cases and not all the time. So this might be something I take after the stream and go off and like meditate on during the day. The cement truck is gone now, thankfully. So like, they weren't even doing construction. The cement truck just pulled up in the alley behind my window to like mix cement for a while and then leave. Very suspicious. Yeah, that's the problem. It's like, it's like if you're FPS gamer of the year and you're going to try to go onto some map and there's like 100 stream snipers, right? Like, if we announce our announcement of the announcement beforehand on a site like Twitter, all this cement snipers show up and just try to grief you. It's really not the best. All right. So, I have a deep philosophical issue here to think about, which is, does the whole way this type checker work, is it backwards? We're not, for the next compiler beta, going to change the whole type checker. So that's out of the question, but we want to think about it. Like, is it actually backwards from how it needs to be? Maybe not, but I mean, this is just an auto dereference cast, right? So okay, let's think about this. So we did this. This is a proximity grid, and we've got an as cast to the wanted. And yeah, so we need to insert a pointer dereference in the right place, the way that we're doing this right now. This may still do that. So let's assume, well, let's look. Let's not assume. Okay, we're coming back here. This is just us filling out. We popped back down for a second because we're now executing the code. Okay, so we do this. That's our new top level expression, but now this thing like bubbles it down. Okay. So just to make sure I know what's going on. Okay, this is grid-like again. I recognize that pointer address. Great. Here, we're making a pointer right? So, all right, we're making a pointer to that. And we're inserting a new cast down in the middle of all this. Which is not great. I don't love it. And this is marked as an as cast. Dude, yeah, I don't love this at all. I don't love this at all. So that's confusing. Oh, that might have been no, that's not the cast that's really breaking us though. Remember there were two serial numbers apart. So we broke it one. That's the middle serial number is that as cast, which like what even is that doing? Do we want that? I don't know. We'll investigate. But then here, so now we're back up. We've recursed back up. Now this is still grid-like. That's the argument type, so that's probably going to stay constant. This is, now there's some, oh, the cement truck's back, guys. It's even closer now. Great. This is entity manager. Okay, so we've successfully matched entity manager to grid-like. Okay. We've matched entity manager to grid-like. But well, I don't know. So now we're gonna, that's fine, I guess. We would have to inspect the deep. You know, it would be good. So Raphael made a little debug print ast function. And if we can call that from the debugger, that'll be great. It's just, I don't, where is it? Where is it? I don't know if it returns a string. Print ast. It's in here. So okay, let's try. Oh, okay, let's try it though. Ast debug string. Well, what are we looking at? Ast debug string interp switchable expression given. Dude, if this works, it's so baller. Cat. Okay, well that's not very helpful. Why aren't you telling me more information? Maybe this isn't the right top. No? Does someone like call this recursively? Or do I just need to add some stuff? I think I just need to add some stuff. All right, well, that's not going to help us right now. We might just enhance this later. Because this is useful if we could just see cast from this to this, right? And so on. All right, so check the types match. Now up here we're going to add this second pointer dereference, and this is where things are messed up, right? Um, so we make a new pointer dereference. And now, supposedly, we're shoving it down the thing. But I don't think we're successfully shoving it down the thing. Yeah, we didn't do anything. So that's not good. Okay, this is an implicit cast. So do I just add implicit cast to this thing? Wait, this is the other implicit cast that doesn't make sense, right? This is the one that goes from grid-like to grid-like, probably. Right? Target type is grid-like. That's the 08 that we keep seeing. And the expression inferred type, oh, is pointer. No, okay. So this is the, okay. This is the pointer dereference from pointer to grid-like to grid-like. Why did we do that? I don't know. Because of this like pointerize everything in between thing, which I don't think is a good idea. I don't think we want to change. We don't want to pointerize anything. This comment is out of date, by the way, this very verbose thing. I don't think we want to pointerize anything in the way that that is being done here. I think that's part of the mess that we are trying to get rid of. If it is not, we need a better explanation about why we're doing that in various places. Does anyone else call this? No. Okay, so my theory is we actually want to change this to work the same way. But instead of just randomly cursoring, we would look for pre-switch, I guess. This is one of these things where like academic people, because what we actually just want to do is insert a cast on top of whoever is pointing at this. We want to say whoever's pointing at this, point at my new dereference instead. And, you know, people would make like doubly linked data structures for that. And I can't be bothered with all that. So, yeah, it's an open question what to do here. Anyway, I'm going to think about this. We have not yet solved the problem. We have made progress. I'm going to get lunch. You know, it really takes a lot out of a man to announce an announcement. It's really like energy draining. So we're going to send you to another streamer. Let's find out who's doing good game development. Learning Vulkan, C++. We rated him the other day. How did that go? Advent of Code, Twig Stick Zombie Shooter, second 90%. Okay, I need to ban Advent of Code. Chill Unity Development. Oh, we could go to Tsoding. I mean, a lot of you are probably on both channels, but let's go. We haven't rated him in a long time. So thanks everyone for coming by, and I'll see you later.